So I think I'm on now. Hello, everybody. Wow, we have a number of people in. I was waiting. Can everybody hear me? So I was waiting till 3:05 for us to start officially, and I think we're there now. I think we are at 3:05, and then it's right at this point for me to start. So, of course, I want to say welcome to everybody that has joined us. This is, of course, the Great Discourse, and I'm sure that in the past few days, you've been wondering what exactly we are up to and stuff like that. So, first, I want to say welcome. We're glad to have you. And I'll go on to give a small background. I'll give you what to expect. And I think Bolaji will say a few words before we continue. Now, what is the Great Discourse? A few days ago, I think about 2 weeks ago, Efe made a tweet and he said he wanted to organize a small get together for young lawyers, and young lawyers were supposed to prepare well for the new year, like to enable them prepare well for the new year, prepare to take up opportunities and all of that for the new year. And of course, the Great Discourse is a result of that tweet. From why did we choose the name Great Discourse? We tried to give some context, some background. So beyond just the blacks and the whites, probably in between and surrounding, beyond all of that, gray. We chose discourse because we didn't want it to be so highfalutin and serious. We want this conversation to be as honest as possible. And we believe that the time that the requirement of extreme formality can make people not as honest and not as open as they generally will be. And of course, here we are. I hope our efforts impress you. So when Efe made that tweet, I was not capable to pull off that, neither personally nor even, no matter the amount of effort I put in. So I reached out to one of the smartest people that I know, and it's impressive that I get to call him a friend. I reached out to Bolaji and I asked him to help me to make this possible. And a lot of what you're going to be witnessing today is, of course, as a result of the important work that Bolaji has put in. Bolaji and Vincent. Oh, Vincent has been very helpful with the planning so far. So is this the point where I bring in Bolaji? I don't think so. I think I'll give a small introduction to what you have today, then I'll go to that. Now, we have 3 sessions today. The first one, we're going to be talking about the position of lawyers or the role of lawyers in today's world. What is the role of lawyers in company, in society, in business, in today's world? And the panelists for that session, I think they are ready right now. That session will be moderated by the chairman of the Nigeria Bar Association Young Lawyers Forum. That is Toby Adebowale. And immediately after that, we will talk about in-house counsel. What, when, how, and we're going to give some background to what exactly is it to be an in-house counsel? What does it involve? Who are the people that you should be talking to? What are the skills that you should have? At what level of your career should you start thinking about moving in-house? Do you need law firm experience? Just background questions like that to prepare us very much for that. And then finally, we'll be talking about work-life balance. And I hope you will have a great time today. So yes, before I invite for the first session, the speakers, the panelists, and the moderator, I think Bolaji has something very shortly to say. So Bolaji, please, you have to say something. Hi, Bolaji, can you hear me? Hello. Zino, can you please unmute him so that he will say something?
I don't think he's here anymore. I think he went off. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So of course, I think we'll just move straight to the first session. The first session is covering the role of lawyers in today, and a lot of the questions surrounding that will be around the ethical requirements of lawyers and ethics questions like that. So of course, I will introduce the guests and then I will invite the moderator to take over. The guests for this session include Georgette Monu. Georgette Monu is an associate at the law firm of Olaniwu Ajayi and co partners. Okay, and she's also the winner of the 2020 Lawyer of the Year award. That's the award by the Future Awards, of course. And secondly, they are in no particular order, of course. We have Tobena Igbono. Tobena Igbono is, of course, an associate at the law firm of Alapo and Oyebode. And finally, we have Efemina Iluezi Ogbaudu. He is a dispute resolution associate at Strachan Partners. I think they will come on immediately now. And this session, as I said before, will be moderated by the chairman of the Nigeria Bar Association Young Lawyers Forum. That is Mr. Toby Adeboale. I hope they are all ready to kick off. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can.
Yes, we can.
You're all on. That's Georgette.
Yes, hi.
Hello, Georgette. Do I see to be just yet?
Yes,
Okay,
hello,
I
everyone.
see
Good to be here.
I see to Bena. I see. Okay, I think Toby is also unmuted. So we're starting that session immediately. Hello, Toby.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, so Toby, you're in charge of this session. Yes, sorry, before you guys just start, I want to lay some small ground rules, please. Everybody, please, I beg you, all the participants, please, we'll beg you not to put on your microphone. If you have questions, drop them in the chat box and we will get to those questions as soon as we can. These are housekeeping rules, of course. And also for the panelists, I want to beg you to please try to stick to the point, be as honest as possible in as few words as possible so that we will make progress. And of course, don't give us sound bites. Don't give us the high points. We can read those in your profiles and all of that. You're going to answer us honestly, as down to earthly as possible. And what else? You're going to please try to take the questions as openly as possible. We're begging for honesty because we are lawyers. And sorry that this is going to seem very preachy, but I have to do it because, it's very important. We are lawyers and there are some things that we should know for ourselves to grow ourselves, you understand? As much as I want to say, my big agenda this year is that lawyers advance as much as possible. So you're going to speak like you're speaking to brothers. You're not going to speak like you're speaking to, so I'm sure we get what I mean. So thank you very much. So Toby, I'm handing over the reins of this conversation to you. This conversation will be for 40 minutes. Thank you very much for doing this once again. I will be gone now, and then the session begins. Hi, Toby. Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can speak. I could hear you, but I couldn't speak. That was the issue. So good afternoon, everyone, and special greetings to my special guest on this panel, starting with Georgette Mono. Georgette Mono, not Janet. Apologies. Efemina Iluezi and Tobena Igbono. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for this wonderful session and hopefully interesting conversation. We're going to start with something. So there's a joke I saw, and I hope this perhaps puts us at ease before we start the conversation. Someone said, when you put the word ethics and legal in the same sentence, that you are perhaps writing something that is called an oxymoron. Well, I guess we're here to find out if that is true or not. And before we go to that point, I see that the framing of the theme for this session seeks to explore the role that lawyers play in the society and attaches to that the sense of responsibility that lawyers should have in performing their roles. So I'm going to allow my panelists to give some introduction, that is sharing their perspectives on this theme, that is the role and responsibility of lawyers in the society. I encourage each one of them to speak from their experiences as lawyers and perhaps the observations from the stories, the reports, and the things that colleagues and other persons in the industry may have narrated to them that relates to this topic. So I'll allow Georgette to um, open the floor. Thank you, Georgette. The mic is yours.
Thank you, Toby. First of all, I'd like to thank the Great Discourse for this fantastic opportunity. I also like the fact that we're talking about the role and responsibility of lawyers in society, and in particular, that we're honing in on ethics, because it's something that we rarely talk about. And I was just talking to a Femina about that literally just this morning. And I was like, this is an odd, topic for discussion. Why choose ethics? And he gave me a bit of background as to why, the Great Discourse chose to focus on ethics. And I asked myself, I was like, how much does ethics play in transactions as a transactions lawyer? Now, for some of you who don't know, my name is Georgette Monu. Hi, everybody. And I work for Olanu Ajayi LP in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. And in working for Olanu Ajayi, have been fortunate enough to work in litigation, in finance and capital markets, in entertainment law, and more recently in projects. So that means I work within both the power and the infrastructure space. So I'll be speaking more from a transactional perspective in terms of how ethics comes to play in transactions. So if you have any questions for me, like we earlier said, please put them in the chat room and I'll look to addressing them as soon as we're done with the discourse. So generally, as you know, as a transactions lawyer, for people who aren't aware, those of you who are in law school, what we usually do is solve our clients' legal issues. And sometimes it's in the form of an email advice to them. Let's say, for example, they're trying to build a power plant and they want to know what the laws are in relation to how they can get a license. So we would send them an email advice, perhaps, that would stipulate, okay, what the law requires them to provide. More often than not, you're usually sending out legal opinions on different clients' issues, and you're also advising them on key contracts or documents. So if it was a bond transaction, for example, your client is issuing bonds, you're usually amending a program trust deed or a series trust deed. You're working on a vending agreement, which is a document that hires the issuing houses that are going to go out and sell your products, which is your bond, right? So honing it in on like how ethics comes to play in all of this. What are the typical ethical obligations? Now, you're subject to the rule of law, all lawyers are, and you are mandated to act in the best interest of your clients. And some of the other duties that you have is to keep the client informed of any progress of any matter, and to also let them know of any risks that are going to occur. Now, usually as transactions lawyers, we do that in the form of assumptions and qualification paragraphs in our legal opinions. Now, usually those paragraphs are the most critical paragraphs as a transactions lawyer, because that's the way you cover yourself to make sure you don't end up in undue necessary litigation for supposedly not advising your client to the best of your ethical responsibility. And I'll give you a couple of examples how that came to play in my experience. Now, in terms of responding promptly to your clients, right? We have a rule internally in Olanu Ajayi. All emails have to be acknowledged within 10 minutes of receipt. It is a rule. In fact, you shouldn't even take up to 5 minutes to respond to your client's email advice. And sometimes when they give you a query and you can't immediately answer it, what we usually say is just let them know that you've acknowledged receipt of the email and you'll get back to them shortly, which gives you time to review their query and to give them a response. And if you are somebody who goes to court, you're a litigator, our internal rule is that we must email the client within 1 hour of returning from court. So that's just a bit of how your ethics comes into play in practice when you're working for a law firm. Now, something else that I thought was interesting, in the RPC, right, it says that where you consider the client's claim or defense to be hopeless, you have to advise them accordingly. Now, I thought that was interesting because, yes, although we may find that our client's defense isn't the strongest, that's why we're there to be lawyers. We're there to come up with a creative solution for our clients. And if not a legal solution, we're there to come up with a commercial one. Now, working in the entertainment law industry, which I'm sure some of you are aware that I do, that is one of the most important things that we can do as lawyers. Because if we allow our clients to perhaps get tied up in litigious disputes, it doesn't serve, for example, the record label, and it also doesn't serve the artist, the recording artist, because the artist isn't able to make songs, the record label can't make money off the artist's songs. So what we usually do is to come up with a creative solution. There was a time where we had a record label and recording artists that were both at loggerheads. And what we decided to do was, instead of saying, okay, yes, let's go to court and let's, handle this in front of a judge, we said that we would be mediators. We brought the two counterparties together and came up with a more robust recording agreement that served both of their purposes. And in that instance, we even had two teams on ground. One team internally, that was representing the record label, and another team internally that was representing the artist, to make sure that the agreement was as robust and as fair as possible. So I just thought it's important to talk about that, because it's not all the time that going to court, I'm sure FMNA will most likely agree with me, it's not every time that going to court is the best solution for the problem. I'm sure Toby, you're smiling, it's true. And also, just to add to that, it's also important not to be a clog in the wheels of justice. I'll give you guys an example. Right now, we're handling a dispute between a music company who has a repertoire of artists and a creative, one of their artists, right? And there was some alleged impropriety in relation to the royalty calculations, okay? Now, as soon as that was brought to the attention of our client immediately apologized to the artist, fired the accountant in question that was responsible for the alleged impropriety, brought in a new accountant to resolve it, and paid and intended to pay the artist back all the money that he had apparently been owed from the miscalculation. Now, what I find interesting is that opposing counsel on the other side, is here sending us emails talking about how, our client is set out to defraud the artist, that they're here to protect the interests of the client. And that email is so out of place, because you have, a counterparty that has admitted faults, has resolved the issue to the best of their ability. So why are you still talking about alleged impropriety? And it became clear to us that the lawyer on the other end was just seeking to get their own, PR stunts out of the whole thing, that they're, for trying to fight the cause of the underdog and the artist. So why am I saying this story? It is important that you as lawyers do not allow your thirst to build your reputation as a lawyer get in the way of your client's interests. Which is why we also advise our clients commercially that, okay, speak to the artist yourself, ignore the lawyers, leave us out for a few minutes, go and discuss with the artist, let them know your state of mind and your manner of thinking, because that's the best way to resolve the solution. To resolve the issue. So I would always advise that, please do not allow yourself to be a clog in the wheel of justice. You have to be someone that is trying to bring parties together to resolve issues, as opposed to just being a tyrant, right? And in Rule 14.3 of the rules, it talks about the fact that, failure to inform the client of alternative dispute resolution is a no-no. And it is true, and especially so in the entertainment law industry, where, like I mentioned, alternative dispute resolution is a better alternative to litigation at any point in time. And I'm conscious of the time. So Toby, let me know how much time I have. I just wanted to touch on a couple of instances, the rules versus practice, so people have a clearer idea of how it works. Now, there's a part of the rules that say that a lawyer is not allowed to call at a client's house or place of business for the purpose of giving advice or taking instructions from the client. I'm sure everybody on this call will say that this rule does not obtain in practice at all. It doesn't. Like, we are meeting clients not just to resolve their issues, but also in terms of business development, that is to market ourselves to them, to figure out what their legal issues are, and trying to resolve them anywhere and everywhere. Bars, clubs, hotels, conferences. We are traveling. We're doing everything that we need to do to reach our clients. So that rule 22, for anyone that is, a young lawyer, doesn't obtain in practice, just ignore it. It doesn't, and I don't think anyone's going to come after you for that, because at the end of the day, you're just trying to market, as they say. Something else that I thought was interesting to talk about is that a client is free to choose their lawyers, right, and to dispense with their legal services as they deem fit, provided that they're supposed to pay you your fees. Now, I'll tell you guys, clients once, and we didn't realize it at the time of onboarding these clients, that they have a reputation where they engage legal services of lawyers. And once they've obtained all the information they need to get from these lawyers, they come up with an excuse as to why the lawyer hasn't done their job efficiently, fires the lawyer, and doesn't pay them their fees. Now, apparently, this has been done for 2 other clients, and we did not know that at the time of engaging these clients. And I can tell you for free that there's nothing more painful as a lawyer where you provide exceptional legal services and your client does not remunerate you for the work that you've done. There's nothing more painful than that. And we were here chasing this client for literally millions in outstanding professional legal fees. We've sent like letters of demand requesting for the money, strongly worded
Imagine how
emails.
sad that is.
Yes, strongly worded emails, all of that. And this client in question still refused to pay our fees. We even threatened, having to go through, there's the remedy within the RPC where you can actually
Yes.
sue for unpaid professional fees. And we actually said we were going to do that. So it's just to say that, as much as you're trying to grow your practice and trying to grow your clientele base, please do carry out due diligence on your clients before you say yes. Just to be sure that you don't end up in a situation that we did at some point in time.
Okay.
And
All
one
right.
other,
Okay.
yes, Toby. Yes,
So
I was
30
just going to say
seconds
that.
to wrap up that one other thing.
Yes, so just one other thing I wanted to bring to your attention. The rules say that you shouldn't file a suit or assert a position, conduct a defense, delay a trial, or take any action on behalf of clients when you know that this action will serve to merely harass or maliciously injure another person. And we were on the receiving end of this. We were dealing with a litigation dispute, and again within the entertainment industry, where the record label in question tried to use the court as a tool and a weapon to frustrate our clients. I can't begin to explain what we went through. This particular law firm, right, allowed themselves to sue us, right? This is sue our clients in 2 different jurisdictions. And it was the exact same case, the exact same matter on the exact same facts in 2 different jurisdictions, all in aid to try and frustrate us. Now, at the same time, they went ahead and spoke to radio stations, TV stations in Nigeria, saying to them that, oh, they have an injunction against our client. And for those who are on the call who may not understand, there are 2 types of injunctions. Well, there are several. But in this particular instance, we're talking about, okay, an interim injunction and an interlocutory injunction. Now, an interim injunction in this particular instance is only supposed to last a while, like literally, I think 7 days maximum. And there's an expiration date for this injunction. And the expiration date had been reached. Meanwhile, this particular law firm went ahead to tell, these third parties that the injunction was still subsisting, and it was completely false. We had to go to all these counterparties, explain to them how the law operates, explain to them how the injunction was not subsisting for the benefit of our clients, and at the same time, had to file a preliminary objection in Abuja, where they had instituted a second action that was on the same facts as the one they had done in Lagos. So I think it's important as lawyers that you don't allow yourself to be used as a tool to frustrate the wheels of justice. You allow yourself to maintain your integrity, maintain your composure, maintain your values as a lawyer. It is so
Very,
critical.
very important. Very
Yes.
important. Thank you so much, Georgette. So
Thank
I'll come
you.
to Femina and pick up from where Georgette stopped, talking about justice. Femina, I know you do a lot of work, or perhaps you're even the coordinator now of the Justice Reform Project, and you do a lot of work in trying to reform the legal system, particularly in relation to how the judiciary performs its roles. So talking about also the distinction between what obtains in practice and what is written in the books. Also, as perhaps you had a stint as a lecturer at the law school, and that's where that phrase is most common in practice when they are trying to distinguish what you should write down from what you find out during your externship. So, in the course of your experience, in working with JRP, in the course of your experience practicing as a lawyer, what are the things that you've seen in relation to how lawyers play their roles,
if my father is
in relation to legal ethics, your observations, and what you think can be done to promote ethics, legal ethics in Nigeria?
All right, thank you so much, Toby. So I'm just going to start off from where Georgia stopped. Like you said, she touched on so many things. In terms of the ethics, though, I'm just going to highlight more closely the fact that most of the issues we have, it comes with when lawyers try to balance their duty to the courts and the justice system with their duty to their clients. What happens is that, or what has happened over time is that rather than actually do our jobs, some lawyers started a trend where they do anything and everything for their clients and forget the system they work in. And I'll give an example. I mean, Georgette mentioned the ex parte and interim injunctions. That's a big one. You know, we saw that with the CBN case. But I'll speak more on when lawyers deliberately delay cases. And I mean, myself and Toby, I discussed this before, where you file a case, the lawyer files an objection to jurisdiction. There's no objection to jurisdiction. You are in the High Court, but they just object. And once they object and the court rules against them, they appeal to the Court of Appeal. It's stay of proceedings. Now, what happens is that they actually stay proceedings at the High Court, and the case goes on for 6-7 years. Nothing is happening. You haven't
going to the merits.
Exactly. But what the client has told them is just delay this case so that, you know, I mean, they'll get tired, they'll go away. So what happens is lawyers actually place their duty to the client above the duty to the justice system, and this is bad. And I'll make 2 points as to why it's bad. The first is that it is bad for the system substantively. And when I say substantively, I mean the justice system is meant to bring justice for everybody. If we keep using these procedural tactics and these bad, sharp practices, it means that nobody's getting justice at the end of the day. I'll make a recommendation. I was reading a book called Defending the Guilty by Alex McBride. It's called Defending the Guilty by Alex McBride. And in the first few pages, it talks about how the system actually works. Somebody says, for instance, oh, he murdered my father. Oh, I did not murder his father. There are 2 sides to the story. You and I, strangers to this story, believe what we want to believe, based on sentiment, based on who cries the loudest, based on who has more clout, based on Twitter, based on who has more retweets. But the truth is that the courts are supposed to take an objective view. Nobody truly knows. So what happens is that the prosecutor says you murdered her father. The defense is supposed to come in as a lawyer and say, I am doing my best to make sure that if you truly murdered a father, you establish it beyond reasonable doubt and we can then kill you for committing murder. That's the way it's supposed to work. But what our lawyers do these days is that they just, you know, delay the case, keep delaying it when somebody gets tired and they go scot-free. Case in point, Senator Ojius Okalu, who was on trial for so many years, is finally scot-free and nobody has agreed to charge him again. But in terms of what to do going forward, I would say that in as much as the law school has contributed to where we are today, the law school and our universities are a place to start. When I started practicing, you know, people started saying things. They told us from law school that what is in practice and what is in real life. And we didn't understand it. But now that I've practiced for about 3.5 years or so, 3 years, I found out that law school is actually the reason why it is the way in practice, even though it's different. Now think about it, when you do civil litigation, when they're teaching you to defend a case, what do they tell you to do? 42 days to file a statement of defense. If it is not drafted this way, it is wrong. If it is drafted this way, it is right. If it's not drafted this way, you can object to it. That's not the way to teach civil litigation. You teach them that the procedure is a means to an end and not the end in itself. Lawyers are supposed to say to the judge, you have this case to do. What is the shortest possible of reaching a solution? In the case I'm working on now, we have trial on the 21st of January, but I've called the other lawyer, very smart, sharp young lawyer, and I'm very excited about the case. And I told him, you know what, let's do it with a trial. Let's do a document only proceeding. Let's tell the Federal High Court judge, Justice Fadji, who's very brilliant, to do this. And he's agreed. So we're going to go there and tell the judge, we have our witnesses here, but let's leave the trial. We don't want to, there's no question we're going to ask that will alter the document. If Justice Fadji agrees, for instance, on that day, he gives us orders to file our final addresses, and in one sitting, we'll be waiting for judgment at the next date. So I think that that's the job of lawyers. Then as to the part of our business and what this has done for us, how ethics has damaged our business, I've made this tweet a couple times now. I've said it before, and Sammy who's here will laugh, and Toby will probably laugh. That one day, if we keep delaying all these cases, people are going to leave the courts and go to Babalawos. And it is very important that we make sure that the courts are credible and a place for us to go. Somebody has told me before, is it not courts? We'll spend 5 years there. Let me just drag them to the police station. And people are really going there. So we need to actually fix up so we can keep making money. The problem now is that the big firms are not practicing this way because, I mean, they know what it is. The smaller firms are the ones that are doing all these things. And the smaller firms are the ones who will lose business because the big firms will continue to make money. Just to, wrap up from my own side of things, I don't want to take too much time. My work is in disputes, meaning I do mostly litigation because of where we are, but I also do a lot of arbitration and a little bit of mediation and conciliation. If you're trying to get to disputes, you do mostly litigation, just prepare for that. And you will be frustrated just because of the system. So if you can't find solace in arbitration and ADR, to succeed, I would say aim for hands-on experience, aim for, in your early years, learn as much as you can, be focused, be driven, ask all the questions. In your first 1, 2, 3 years, ask all the questions. Because if you're like me now, if I ask my head of chamber some questions, look at me and you eye me from head to toe. Who are you? How can you not do this? When I was doing my NYC, I asked all the questions. So I don't have too many questions to ask now. And since we are being very honest, I will just say very briefly that sometimes it may not seem like the most profitable business, and you're not going to make any money from law in your first few years, unless you're lucky to work for a firm that pays you properly. It's tier 1, tier 2 firm. You end up earning, 50K here, 30K there, and it's very sad, but what I would say is that if you know your stuff and people know you know your stuff, they will pay for your stuff in future. One day you drive the G-Wagon, and be like Georgette going to all the hotels in Lagos and bars. Thank you very much.
Hopefully, Georgette will do some giveaway at the end of this session. So going to Tobina, and before Tobina comes on, let me say, Ifemina, we're actually not very far from that reality of people abandoning the courts. I've actually seen a summons that was issued from a shrine in somewhere in the southeast, and in that particular community, they do not go to the court anymore. They go to the shrine, and the shrine issues you a summon. So you go to the shrine.
In 2 days, even in 1 hour, you get judgment in 1 hour.
Exactly.
Wow. First of all, Femina, I don't know why you're using me to catch Cruzo. Which one is Coachella? But please explain yourself.
That's what you said. But I mean, I feel that.
Okay, so Tobina.
Yes. Everyone. So okay.
Let's hear your perspectives on this issue, and I think I'll just allow you to flow.
All right. I feel they've said Georgette and Ifemina they've said everything actually. I'm just going to add as much as I can. My name is Tobina. I work with Alukani Bode. Just brief context, I've had a brief stint with litigation. As if it knows, I ran away because of lawyers that basically do not observe ethics. It's a bad thing actually. Then I currently practice in TMET, FinTech and GCI, that's governance, compliance and investigations. So in terms of ethics, for my brief stint in litigation, I noticed that a lot of lawyers don't actually observe the rules of the RPC. And I find this statement where people say that the rules of professional conduct are more observed in breach. I don't like that statement because I feel that as lawyers, they talk about you speaking from the bar and stuff like that. There should be that measure of what I said is what it is, and that measure of propriety. But I mean, it's wishful thinking to expect that everyone would behave in an ethical manner. So just to add to what everyone has said, in terms of your duty to your client, you owe a duty to disclose conflict. So by in here and before we take on any client, we ensure that we do the whole conflict check so that we're sure that we're not giving advice to a client that we should not give advice to, especially in relation to our existing client. And I mean, we always disclose that conflict, and if they choose to proceed, that is fine. If they don't, I mean, we always inform them about conflict. Then I'm also going to give practical scenarios, just flowing from what Georgette said about lawyers being plugs in terms of the will of justice. And I'm not shading anybody, for it's a litigation thing because of the whole adversarial system that we have. Lawyers on the other side are always eager to fight. I don't know. Sometimes we're not coming to fight you, we're just coming to have like a discussion with you and just basically cause and chart a course that is best suited for everyone. So we had the fintech client that they give loans on their apps, and someone got, I don't know, the person gave out the person's details, and there was deductions from the person's someone borrowed money on the person's behalf, and ultimately the client got a lawyer to sue. The money was not much. They came and they were demanding about 10 million. It was funny because I mean, we're trying to tell them that, see, this is just ridiculous. At the end of the day, after a whole back and forth, and the lawyer being unnecessarily angsty, because that's one thing that stood out in the person's character, we got to a place that everyone agreed that okay, we should just refund the money back to the person, and everyone goes to bed on this issue. So I feel that going forward, I feel we should focus a whole lot more on ethics, because that's what will sustain the legal profession, because that minimum standard of appropriate conduct is just needed in the legal profession. And I think those are my 2 cents to this, because everyone has said virtually everything I would have said. So that's it for me. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay. Well, we don't spend cents here in this country. Our legal tender is the naira. So I'm going to extract at least 5 kobo from you, in addition to the 2 cents that you're giving. And
All
that's
right, that's
in relation to the phrase you do not like, where people say the RPC is observed when it's breached. Now, we are aware of the sociological jurisprudence of law that says the law reflects the society. So behaviors influence what goes into the letters of the law. Now, if the RPC is presently being observed in its breach, do you perhaps think that there's a mismatch between the content of that RPC and what should obtain in practice? So perhaps we need to revise and review, redraft the rules of professional conduct.
So one thing that stands out to me with every single law that we pass in, even in Nigeria, is there's more of not a problem with the law. It's more of a function of how it is enforced and how people react to it. I'm not saying the RPC is a perfect statute. I'm not saying the socioeconomic problems we have in Nigeria does not ultimately affect how people behave. So initially, when I joined legal practice, there was a whole statement about how, hey, because I had a conversation with a colleague, and how, hey, people should stick with the rules of professional conduct. And he said that if you do that, and but ultimately, the RPC still had some it still has some laudable provisions in it, but you still see people breaching those provisions because it's something that stands out all. And I mean, I would always make reference to my stint in litigation. It was a problem from your registers in court to, and me, I try to work very, very narrow lines, more or less. I typically don't like paying bribes. I would never ever pay a bribe. And so you find yourself begging and pleading with the registrar to give you this. At the end of the day, you spend the whole time chasing. It was just a whole lot. I'm not saying, I'm not talking down on litigation. Litigation is a great area of law in Nigeria. But more often than not, the system itself just basically frustrates you. And then like I made reference to lawyers on the other side coming at you as if they're fighting you. Like, what if you also pointed out in terms of lawyers being technical lawyers and how the law school focuses so much on, hey, if you don't put in the High Court of Lagos State, in the Lagos Judicial Division, the lawyer will come and say, you did not draft this process very well. That's just unnecessary technicality, because at the end of the day, law is a means to an end, and that end is rightly so getting justice. And justice is not just for the parties involved or just the courts, it's for the society at large. And that ultimately determines how my
Okay.
position on how ethics is supposed to be.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tobina. Let me ask Georgette this question, and I see it being asked somewhere in the chat box as well. Someone else told me that, and it's a common observation, that the most interesting songs in Nigeria right now are fraud songs, or songs supposedly speaking about fraud. Georgette advised people in the entertainment sector, and I imagine some of these popular musicians who are producing these songs are your clients. What are the ethical issues involved in advising fraudsters? Andre, I don't know if Andre is on this call. Andre once made a tweet one day where he talked about the possible
Oh my God.
industry that can be built around providing legal services to Yahoo boys. So these are ethical dilemmas or ethical issues that people may be having. How do you navigate those kind of issues, and what do you advise young lawyers to do?
Well, I think first and foremost, right, just for the record, I have not advised any Yahoo person or fraudster, at least to the best of my knowledge. I just want to put that out there, right? That's number one. Number two, this isn't an ethical question in as much as it's a moral question. Because really, the issue right now is that you are feeling guilty for representing a client whose songs would incite people to get involved in Yahoo affairs, right? And that is a moral question, it's not an ethical one. Because really and truly, like, the documents you're drafting are standard term documents. You have your producer agreements, you have your split sheets, you have perhaps a music distribution agreements in relation to the songs, and that's it. And those are standard legal documents that you would readily, dish out to anyone, whether it was somebody that was even doing Christian music or secular music, quote unquote, or this fraudster sort of music. So it's more a moral question than an ethical one. I think you have to ask yourself, okay, do you as a lawyer want to be involved with such individuals, knowing fully well that is what their practices are? And also, something that people don't realize, a lot of the musicians in the industry today are actually being funded by a lot of these fraudsters. So just because, for the sake of argument, I don't know, Wizkid is singing Ojo Elegba, it doesn't mean that the people that are financing his business aren't involved in untoward affairs. That's just by the way. So I guess it goes back to something I said earlier, which is, what sort of lawyer do you want to be? How do you want to be remembered? What do you want your reputation to be in the industry? Is your integrity something that is irreproachable? Is that what you want to be known for? Are you wanting to be known for your honesty and for your value system? And I think as a young lawyer, you have to ask yourself exactly what sort of lawyer you want to be and stay true to that in the course of your career, no matter what you face. Because even if we go out of the music industry now and we go into an industry that I'm working in now, which is the power and infrastructure sector, where I'm still dealing with clients, and I just had one recently that likes to do things that they shouldn't really be doing, and I should be smacking them for doing those things. And that's just unfortunately the nature of my clients, right? And how we protect ourselves as lawyers is that we will issue an email advice to you and tell you what we believe is the best legal solution to your problem. And we will say to you that if you decide to go with B and C, these are the consequences, but we're advising you to go with A, so that it's on record. Should your client decide not to go with A due to their own stubbornness and go with B and C, and they end up in trouble, they can never come to you and say you gave them incorrect legal advice, because it is all on record. That is the best advice I can give you as a young lawyer to make sure you protect yourself in this business.
Awesome.
So that's what I would say on that.
Thanks a lot, Georgette. And that's very insightful approach to the issue. Ifemina, Going
but
to
mm,
the issue of culture,
mhm.
the industry rests or perhaps was built on the culture of respect. Now, something that Tobina mentioned while he was talking in relation to dispute resolution, for instance, you go to court, a registrar or some clerk official wants you to pay some fee, which does not necessarily align with your own personal approach to dealing with matters. You then find that you cannot return to your office to say, I did not get this work done because this particular approach is against my own personal approach. Now, this issue then brings about the perspective of the senior lawyers, the perspective of the industry, culture, the culture of the industry, and the issue of ethics. How do we navigate all of this, and how do we find a way forward, especially for young lawyers who want to do the right thing? What do you think we can do?
That's a very hard question. I mean, it's a very hard question because I speak because I'm fortunate to be somewhere where things are done properly. And even when it's time to do things that are borderline, everybody knows what I stand for because I say what I stand for. So what I would just say is that even if you're in the wrong environment, let everybody know what you stand for. There's something that happens with Nigerians. When Nigerians know that you stand for something, even if they are this other way, they just kind of put you in a corner and let you be, you know. So I think the best thing you can do is let people know what you stand for before the situation arises. And when the situation arises, you have to count your costs. If you really hold your ethics that high, then you have to be willing to, you know, take the fall for it and see what happens. If you do not, if you consider it to be too tough a decision, this is an honest conversation. Then do what you must and pray to God for forgiveness because your life depends on it. But I would say that by and large, there's nothing that is worth your reputation. Something happened very recently in relation to this debate competition going on. I had a discussion with Tobina, and I told Tobina very clearly, it was a very close friend of mine, that nothing is worth your reputation. You don't want to give a 1,000 naira bribe today, and tomorrow when you're running for president, they tell you that you give a 1,000 naira bribe somewhere, it just brings everything falling down. Maybe not in Nigeria, maybe in the United States of America. Um, just to make a few points before I round up. I mentioned about the law school's role in making things better. The law school has a big role to play. And I say this because mostly things they teach do not actually touch on the substance of our profession. I mentioned the book by Alex McBride. It's called Defining the Guilty. It also has a TV series. But that book is very crucial. The first few pages literally talk about the beginning and the role of lawyers. I also see somebody's comment about procedure. The issue with procedure is that it's not taught properly in Nigeria. You see, there's somebody in the UK called Lord Wolf. Lord Wolf did some reform in 1970 something, 1980 something. He called it the oxygen principle. So just Google Lord Wolf and the oxygen principles. The oxygen principles basically teach the difference between procedural law and substantive law and their roles. Also, what Lord Wolf did with the oxygen principles is now in Nigerian law under the rules of various courts, the NIC, the High Court of Lagos State, but we always ignore them. In fact, what Lord Wolf did was done in 1885 by the Judicature Act in England when equity was introduced into court. So if a court is a court of justice and equity, you cannot punish a man because he did not do A the way you like him to do A. It just doesn't make any sense. And this is probably procedure. I don't think there's anything else to say. The thing about Yahoo Boys, I think that the RPC sufficiently covers that. If you know that you've committed a crime and you're going to become part of a crime, you know what to do. Don't ask those questions. You know the truth. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. We seem to be running out of time, or perhaps we have run out of time already. But I'll crave as a chorus indulgence to allow me ask one more question from each of my panelists and give them 30 seconds each to answer the question and wrap up. So I'll start with Georgette. Georgette, okay. I imagine she's here, but I can't seem to see her on my screen right now. The question really is for young lawyers, starting in the first year or so. You're coming in, you're possibly able to get a job with some of not too big law firms, and you do not earn a fantastic pay like Georgette, but you need to get by. And you have this dilemma of running your own private business or personal practice on the side. What do you think people in that position can do, and how best can they do it to stay out of trouble?
Wow. First of all, I'm sure that almost everyone who works for a law firm knows that PP, that is private practice, is not encouraged and it's not allowed by a lot of these law firms. I would say that if you're in your first year or second year at the bar, I don't think private practice is something that should even be on your mind at that point in time, primarily because you don't know enough yet. You're still learning. And just like Efemina mentioned, like he spends majority of his year as a copper asking all the questions in the world that he could ask. And that dovetails nicely into what I was actually going to use to round up, which is my key tips for young lawyers. You need to seek knowledge, as much knowledge as you can soak in your first 2 years of practice. Read as much as you can, ask questions, and practice, because practice makes perfect. I'll give you guys an example. There's someone I know who left law school, and immediately they left law school, they started their own private practice, right? And they ended up being responsible for a young artist entering into a recording agreement with a record label that honestly was so disenfranchising on the point of the artist that I was like, could they, as the artist lawyer, even draft such an agreement? And when I did further due diligence on this law firm, I found out that it was started up by two people who literally just left law school and thought that they knew it all. It's the worst mistake you can ever do. This agreement, I can't even begin to explain to you all the various issues that were there, not to mention the fact that they tied the guy in for this recording agreement for like 3 years on end, with an option to renew that was really on the side of the record label. So please seek knowledge, ignore private practice for the first 2 years. It is tough because I know money is necessary, but it is so required. So you don't end up being falling prey into giving people the wrong legal advice because of your inexperience. Be resilient, be yourself, find your unique skills and attributes that you can use to add value to yourself and to your firm, and be strategic. That's what I would say are my 4 key things.
Okay. Thank you very much, Georgette. Efemina, this is an unlikely question for you, but I'm going to ask you. I deliberately did not ask Georgette this question so that it will not be stereotypical. One issue that's possibly underplayed in our discussions in the legal circles is the issue of sexual harassment. It is an ethical issue, it's a moral issue. How do you think we can deal with it? And especially for law students and young lawyers, law students who are going to intern in these law firms, young lawyers who are getting into practice.
I think Toby's frozen. Is it just me? He is. Okay.
He's frozen.
Okay. But I heard him
But you
talk
can
about
go on.
harassment. Yeah, and I'm very happy to get this question because I will say one thing to you. If you ever are a victim of sexual harassment, I would say that people should speak up. I have a petition culture. I believe that everybody should petition everybody that does everything wrong. And it may seem like a brash way to go, but if we do not take these laws, if we do not put people to the test, make them accountable, nothing is going to change. You see, in Nigeria, we keep many things and sweep them under the carpet, and it should not be that way. For sexual harassment, you will get all the support you need. There are lawyers who don't want to sexually assault you or harass you. There are lawyers who want to, but then when it's lawyers who want to do this thing, you report them. That's the only way to actually do it. It's ahead of a 1,000,001 senior lawyers, a couple senior advocates of Nigeria. And I mean, it's quite disappointing. In my opinion, and I will say it again, report them, tell your friends, tell everybody. If you have the will to and the power to file a petition at LPDC with your concrete evidence, you're a lawyer. Don't let anybody treat you like this. And this brings me to a point I wanted to make. One thing that is very important for young lawyers is role models. You see, when we were in university, for those who studied in Nigeria, we heard about Nikki Toby, Kayode Shaw, all these names, Gani Fawa and me. Now we're practicing and there's nobody to look up to. Maybe 1, 2, 3 people here and there. And I say this every time. I've got into trouble for this and I don't mind getting into trouble again. So the truth is that we need role models amongst ourselves. Find people who are doing exceptional work and emulate them. Georgette is one of them. Toby is another one. And Sabina is one as well.
Thanks, Pamela.
So the point is, it really is. And I think this is something that the Great Discourse will try to do. We're bringing together people who who can teach you, who can share what they know. It's not even teaching, it's sharing what they know. And I think that we need role models, and we need to just look inwards and just have people who we can speak to, who we can emulate. Somebody put Festus Kiamu in the chat box. I prefer not to speak. So thank
I
you very
advise you to be cautious.
I will be.
Proceed with caution.
Oh my gosh. Oh my days.
All right, thank you, Ifemina. So that brings me to Tobina. And my question really is about the skill sets. What skill sets do you think a young lawyer, a law student needs to begin to focus on acquiring and building upon, especially to be able to get into a big law firm like yours, the Alukwano of this world, you know?
So first and foremost, I have to thank Ifemina because Ifemina was my lecturer back in law school, and he was the whole aspire perspire thing. We had it then. So in terms of skills one needs to practice in like a top tier firm, I'm going to always say that the reality of our market in Nigeria is you need good grades. It's what it is. It's not an ideal situation, but to get into a top tier firm, your grades actually matter. That's the first thing. Then, in terms of skills that you need on your own side, you need to love research because part of working in a law firm is research. That's one. Then you also need to know how to just attention to detail. One thing that even me, I'm still learning on the job is basically going over your drafts repeatedly because you can't read it the first time and think that you have a perfect work. No. So you have to take your time, take sometimes step back and look at it again. And then, yes, you come up to that point where you say, okay, I've done a good job on this. Then you also need to be willing to learn because a lot of people come out of law school thinking that they know so much. And I found out to be a very, very big lie because the curriculum in law school does not actually prepare you for practice. And a lot of the time you learn on the job. So be very willing to learn, humble, that's one thing. And one other thing I like to advise new wigs on is on the point of escalating issues. So when you have something you're working on and you are lost or you don't know what else to do, try to raise it with either a colleague or a supervisor. Don't just sit on it or try to fix it on your own. Try to raise it with someone that has a bit of experience on it, and that should help. Someone asked the question in the chat box about how you can build research culture.
Sure.
I think the NBA Young Lawyers Forum helped us with Law Pavilion subscription during the pandemic. Be friends with Law Pavilion because that's actually how you can do your research. Then there are a lot of websites that you can access articles and all of those things. Yeah, those are my points on how
Okay.
to.
Thanks a lot, Tobina. And to just add to that, your response to that question, I think participating in essay competitions and other types of competitions like arbitration contests and the likes also plays a great role in developing research capacity. The YLF has had two of such competitions. One was completed last year, one is ongoing, and another one will be introduced very soon. You can also write to in hope of getting published on sites like Lawyer, Nigeria Legal, Nigeria Lawyer, and other platforms like that, so that people can read and then perhaps help to critique your thoughts. At this point, I would like to thank everyone, especially my panelists, esteemed panelists. Thank you for joining us. So I will yield the mic to Zikora and allow him to take us forward from here. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, welcome back, everyone. How are you doing? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you all hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Oh, sorry. 1 minute. Can you see me now?
Yes, we can.
So, good. Thank you very much for joining us, and I've learned a lot from that session. So we're going to do something very quickly. I really think everybody on this panel for their honesty and their openness in answering questions. So we're going to do something very quickly. Everyone is going to tweet about this event. Like, I'm sure you picked up something from the first session. So you're going to send a tweet and you're going to use the hashtag #TheGreatDiscourse, and you're going to send the tweet now. So you have 2 minutes to do that. I'm going to shut my camera so that I can do that as well. So everybody, you can tweet a quote from the first session, something that you learned. You can, please just keep it as decent as possible. I'm seeing a mess in the chat, and I'm hoping that we will be lawyers and do the right thing. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I'm going to cover, I'm going to put off my camera for a minute, and then we will be back in 2 minutes. Is that okay? So in 2 minutes, I'll hope to see a tweet from everybody with the hashtag #TheGreatDiscourse. Thank you very much. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Thank you guys for having me. Really appreciated the conversation, and I hope to do this again soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, Efemina. Thanks, Tobena. You guys were amazing. Bye, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
So yes, I'm back. First, I want to thank everybody that did the first session for us. I want to thank Tobena Igwanu. I want to thank FA. I want to thank Toby for taking time out of his very busy schedule, but that guy is very busy. And he still agreed to do this. I'm very grateful. And thank you, Georgette. I know she has left, but thank you still. So we're going to the second session, and the second session is about in-house counsel. And of course, I think we have our guests there. Sorry, 1 minute. I think we have all our guests here for the second session. For the second session, we have Lola Salami. She is in-house counsel at GTB. And we have Tena Sami, he's legal officer at Niche Dell United Oil Company, and he's founder of Samten Farms and Foods Limited. So for this session, we're going to be looking at them talking honestly about their experience being in-house counsel, what inspired them to become in-house counsel. And then, of course, the experiences required and the path that people that want to take the same path can take. So, of course, so this session begins now, and I will be the moderator for this session. So hello, Sammy, how are you?
Hi, Jikara, how are you? Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming. Hello, Lola Salami.
Hi, Zikora. Good afternoon. Thank you
Good
so much
afternoon.
for.
Your
Sorry,
camera is good.
yes, because I actually ran out of the office and I came into my colleague's car. So I just figured I'd rather leave it off because I'm inside the car.
Yes, I told you in the card before. So no problem, no problem. So let's have the conversation. Of course, your in-house counsel. So the publicity that we put out and some of the conversations, people did what's the difference between corporate counsel and in-house counsel? Because I used to think that in-house had compliance, corporate, company secretarial, all of that. But yes, you're the expert. So what is the difference between these three things? And Sammy, I think you should lead on that.
Okay, so in-house counsel, first of all, fundamentally, you can be corporate, whether you call it counsel, in-house counsel or in-house corporate counsel. Fundamentally, you can be any of these if you've not been called to bar or if you do not have a law degree. Now, I don't think there's much distinction between in-house between in-house and corporate counsel. That's because they do primarily the same things, the same kind of work. Okay, even though in most companies they have departments within the legal department. So, for instance, some companies have legal departments, and then they have the compliance section, they have the contracted section. So, it's for me, I would like to see it as one and the same thing.
Okay. So, Lola, how did you? I just want to ask questions about how your journey has been. Did you serve first in a law firm and then come in-house, or did you just go straight from the law school in-house?
Okay, so I served first in a law firm. I was with the firm of Boyega Iwole, during my service here. I spent about 8 months there. Then after I joined Guarantee Trust Bank Training School, because I came in as a graduate trainee, so I had to go to training school where I learned about how the bank works and everything. Basically, I had to do other things like, because when you come in as a graduate trainee, you're not certain of where you would get. You're not certain you get the legal department. So you basically learn everything. You learn everything. You can work anywhere in the bank, basically.
Oh, so you didn't start off straight into the just the legal department. You had to learn
No.
everything.
Yes, I had to learn everything. I had to
Okay,
learn
but
everything.
okay. Did you think that your experience in the law firm was an addition, or did you think it was just a waste of time?
Oh, well, it was an addition because honestly, when I was doing my interviews, like the first stage and the second stage, they were asking me majorly about my experiences. And it was because I practiced a little bit, I was able to give them certain things. Like, I mean, as a copper, you won't really do so much, but I was able to tell them the little things I did. And I think it really assisted. So, and really, no knowledge is wasted. So,
Okay, so Uncle Sammy, yeah, you moved from a law firm in-house. I'm assuming about that. Am I correct? Hello? Hello?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, so mine is a little bit, I'd like to go back from my undergraduate days so people appreciate how my own trajectory has been. Um, I happen to have mentors, okay, as an undergraduate, right from my secondary school, okay, who told me that if you if you're studying law because you want to defend people, then becoming an in-house counsel is not for you. Now, coming from a core business background and someone who's very entrepreneurial, okay, I was advised early enough that listen, whenever you're on vacation, do not go intern in a law firm because you will have you still intern in a law firm at law school level. So what my mentors did for me was for every time I was on vacation, they wrote a letter to either Nigerian Breweries Legal Department or one company or the other company's department. Now all of that was to give me an insight and to also build the interest I had already developed. Okay, now, after graduating, okay, so during vacation, I go on internship. I also worked in my father's company, um, operations, just to have an insight into how running a company from the legal, um, with the knowledge and tools of law goes. Now, after graduation, I worked in a company, in a law firm, of course. Worked in a law firm, went to another law firm, then I worked in a company where I interned. At this time, I was 2 years at the bar, but I still went in as an intern deliberately because I needed to gain industry knowledge. Okay, firsthand. So I got into a servicing I got into an oil servicing company where I interned for a couple of years and then I applied for the bigger jobs and yeah, that's been it for
Okay, so most of your experience has been in the oil and gas sector.
me. Oil and gas, yes, oil and gas. But I've been in the maritime sector, I've been in the manufacturing FMCG sector also.
Okay, so if someone was to go from law school, or say if someone were an undergraduate and he was looking to get into, if someone were an undergraduate that was looking to get in-house, probably in the oil and gas sector, what is a career chart that you can a career path that you can chart for the person now? Try to do it.
So, so first of all, this is what I like to advise people. Good enough, Lola and I went to same university, and so she can confirm this.
Wow.
You want to be close. You want to, if you know what you want to do in your legal career. Say, for instance, you want to be corporate lawyer, be a corporate lawyer. Of course, you know that there are certain courses you do not want to take, certain elective courses you do not want to take. Now, most universities now have specialized courses. They have aviation law, maritime law, and all of that. Now, for me, back in the Millennium, we had corporate commercial law, we had banking and finance law, and all of that. So those were courses I picked. Okay, while everyone was going for administrative law and the rest of them, I went for courses that were in line with my chosen career path. Now that's fundamental. Okay. Now, secondly, you want to go in for internships. Now, I never rolled with lawyers. Okay, I didn't mingle with lawyers who were very big on litigation. I related more with lawyers who were in-house counsels. For example, Professor Nat Ofor, who happened to be one of my lecturers. Okay, I was really close to him, got all the advices from him, mentorship and all of that. Okay, so these are some of the things you want to do. You also want to read books. Okay, you want to read books. Okay, build, equip yourself, because indeed it's not everything university and law school teach you. There are a lot of things you learn them on field, on the job, rather. You learn them on the job. So you want to build capacity ahead of time. Lastly, I would say that fundamentally you need to be business inclined. It doesn't mean that you must do business, because the bulk of your work as in-house counsel is to provide business solutions using tools and skill your knowledge of law. So you need to have the mindset of a business person, because at the end of the day, your employer wants to see how are you able to help me rack up profits with your expertise. So, for instance, in in-house job of an in-house counsel, there are decisions you have to take. Now, some of these decisions do not necessarily, won't be legal. It won't be from the law perspective. It will be from the business perspective. So, for instance, now we're doing a matter with a contractor. Now, it's an arbitration matter. Now, this contractor has refused to pay his portion of the arbitrator's fee. This contractor has made away with millions of dollars from us. We want to recover. But then again, it looks as if this company is grounded, like they are broke. Do we want to do we want to pay their portion of the fee so the matter can proceed? Or do we want to pull out and go and recover costs from our partners, from the business itself? Because my office, for instance, we run a PSE, production profit share, a production sharing contract. So do we want to go and recover that money from our cost oil? Because if we proceed with that matter and we get judgment, what's the possibility of us enforcing that judgment successfully, that award successfully? You now have to start looking for the company's assets. You spend money paying lawyers to go through the bank, through bank papers and all of that. It's going to cost you a lot more money. So if you aspire to be in-house counsel, you need to be business-minded, okay? Because the bulk of your work will come from the business perspective of the employer. You want to do everything you can to help your employers rack up their profits.
Okay, so Lola, I think the next question will be for you. Sammy has spoken about being business-minded, being understanding, and it feeds into something else that you said before about understanding the business, understanding the processes that your company or the company that you work for, understanding their business processes. So that's my next question. For example, how do you balance the legal side of your job with the commercial side of your job? Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, I do. So basically, like I said before, I had to train to be a banker first. So what we were told is forget every knowledge you've had before. You're coming in as a banker, you're coming as a business person. So you would see that a lot of times your customers will come. Okay, so basically the bulk of what we do here is to make sure that the bank never loses money. Like anything you do, any agreement you're reviewing, anything you do, that has to be at the back of your mind constantly, that the bank must not lose money. While the bank is not losing money, you have to also make sure that your customers are happy, you get. So what do you do in that instance? You ensure that, okay, I am not closed-minded, I'm open-minded, I'm trying to see a way. My customer says, I want this transaction. I know that this is the standard for the bank. Well, I want this transaction and this is what I want. You have to make sure that you are able to satisfy your customer without necessarily making the bank lose money. So yeah, so what we basically do is that we have to look at it from the business point of view. There are things that you would say legally, okay, this is a standard, this is what the law says, this is how it is supposed to be. But we have to make these customers, I mean, you have like a mobile or like Ajib or Total, and you have to make this because they bring the bulk of your revenue. You have to make them happy. So you have to look for ways around it to say, okay, this is what the law says, but well, we can actually tweak it a bit and do it in a way that everybody can meet like at a middle point. So yeah, basically.
Okay, so I think that will lead me to my next question, because you seem to have an experience that is a little linear. If someone that was in the university wanted to come where you were now, where you are right now, how would you chart the course for the person? Like moving from I'm an undergraduate and I want to become Lola Salami. How do I go about it?
Well, I think that basically, okay, so let me tell you how I got this job. Yeah. When I was in practice, my law firm offered me something that my present salary will probably go times 3 and more. I'm not going to say the exact amount, but my present salary will go times 3 and more. So I figured this is not for me. I cannot be working and I'm doing so much and I'm not getting, like, I'm not being paid well and you expect me to be happy. So I figured when I was 7, I started applying for jobs. Like I knew that I wasn't going to work in a law firm. I knew from the bottom of my heart that I'm not going to do litigation. I'm not even going to work in a law firm. And I think, so what I did was that when I was going to apply for jobs, I didn't apply to law firms. I focused on companies basically. So, and then I got this interview and then we moved on to training. Training school was extremely difficult. I'm not going to lie, because it was more like, I had to like learn about accounting. I had to learn about marketing. I had to learn a whole lot of things. That I did a lot of mathematics, which is not my forte actually. So I figured that if you can open your mind, just make out just like direct your mind towards what you want. Okay, I do not want to work in a law firm. How do I do that? I go about and apply to companies. Don't apply to law firms because you know this is not where you're going to work. So basically just channel your mind to where you want to and then build your skill sets rather. So basically what really assisted me is the fact that I think that I am able to talk. Like I can talk. So I think, and that is something you need. Even when I was in training school and they were asked things I don't know, I will still say something, regardless whether I'm correct, whether I will still talk. So you shouldn't be shy. You should always, my experience, I think that's one of the things that has really paid out well for me here. When I got here, I was just supposed to be on the litigation desk, but they moved me into the company secretariat too. So I do things on the company secretariat. I arrange board papers, I meet with directors and all of that. Just be able to express yourself. See, nobody's going to kill you for saying something that is wrong. Just say your mind. So I think that's it basically.
Oh, that's very, very helpful. So Uncle Sammy, as we're saying, everybody's being honest here.
Okay.
Everybody's being honest here. So please start sending your questions if you have any questions for the guest. So Uncle Sammy, the next question is for you, for example, because a lot of times people say about company roles generally that you have to know somebody. You have to have certain connections. You have to, how do people, so the question generally is, how do people get into roles like yours? You've been in the oil and gas industry for a number of years. how do people land or get money jobs? Uncle Sam?
Fundamentally,
Okay.
you need
Yes.
to you need to build capacity,
Okay.
because the truth is it's big money industry. You understand? They don't talk 100,000 naira. It's $1 million, millions and millions of dollars. So you need to build capacity, because they want the best of the best.
Yeah.
Because the slightest mistake you're making, you're costing your employers massive money. So you don't want to do that. Now, apart from that, you want to also attend events, corporate events. You want to attend conferences. You want to attend book seminars. You want to attend events. Okay, even as an undergraduate, I mean, and you should be able to network. For instance, there was a time I was pursuing a particular job, and it happens to be that it turned out that the person who had the power to give authorization was one big organ. Now I realized that it's so difficult to see this man in the office. So what did I do? I was still in Port Harcourt at the time. What did I do? I stopped going to have fun weekends. I started going weekdays. So on the Monday evening, you see me at Pier Bar in Port Harcourt, chilling, listening to music, and hoping the guy comes. On Wednesday evening, you see me at Total Club playing football, hoping the man comes. And gradually, we became familiar with each other. And before you knew it, I pushed in what I wanted, and I got it. Okay, it wasn't an employment, but so what am I saying in essence? You should be able to network. You should pursue knowledge. Okay, pursue knowledge. You should be able to network. You should also you should also um, seek. You should also what's it called? If you know how to write, for some people are gifted with writing, some people are gifted with speaking. Okay, if you know how to write, you can put out publications. Okay, blog posts. You don't know who's reading these things. Set up a LinkedIn profile, publish these things. You do not know who's reading. You also want to try and belong to professional associations. Okay, for instance, I'm trying to join AIPN, Association of Energy Practitioners. Okay, it's a global forum. I'm trying to get on that forum, and I'm looking for someone to sponsor me. Now, busy networking, I've gone through that website to see how many Nigerians are there, which Nigerian I have a mutual with, so that mutual can introduce me to the Nigerian or to the American, whoever, just so I can get a sponsorship letter. So you need to write publications. If you can, you need to speak at events. If you can, you should be able to ask intelligent questions when you attend these forums. You don't know who's going to pick interest in you. You should be able to strike conversations, random conversations with people, especially if you know their background. I mean, if I knew Zikora was MD of OPEC and I'm trying to get an OPEC job, I want to engage him in small pep talks, and before you know it, I'm raising OPEC related issues, and I'm addressing, giving him solutions, because really the job of in-house counsel is solution driven. It's basically solution. So it's not just solution, because sometimes you want to cut off every form of risk. Okay, so that the litigation lawyers don't make money. So it's your job to ensure litigation lawyers don't make money, except the breach comes from the third party, from your client. Okay, so my job is to make sure that my external lawyers don't make money, except my client or my vendors misbehave. Okay. Even at that, my mentor will say something. Mr. Chukwu, he's a lecturer at Biosa Campus Law School. He will say he charges more when he settles matters over a glass of wine than when he goes to court. So even when the problems come up as in-house counsel, you want to do everything humanly possible, including lying down to beg your boss to just shift grants. Okay, including talking to the lawyer on the other side or the MD on the other side, just find a way to massage egos. Yours is to reduce risk at that point. You don't cost your company or your employer more money. So you should be able to, if you're able to do these things, I mean, the sky will be your start point.
Okay, thank you very much. So the next question will be for Lola. I think I will also ask Uncle Sammy that question eventually. Somebody asked in the chat rooms about limited experience of company lawyers or in-house lawyers generally. How exactly does this play out? Are you okay with the limited experience first? Is it true that in-house lawyers have very narrow, limited experiences that are limited just to the sector that they work in, or probably the company that they work in? That's one. Number two, do you have to be okay with this? Are there ways to, is this a bad thing? Are there ways to mitigate this limiting of your experiences and your opportunities?
Okay, so basically, I think like to depend on the industry you are. For instance, I work in the legal department of a bank. So that means I've seen transactions from everywhere. You would have a pharmaceutical company come, you have to understand their business. You would have somebody in oil and gas come, you have to understand their business because you cannot draft agreements without basically understanding the business you are going into. So you have to know the nitty gritty. And I believe personally, it's not limiting because getting jobs and opportunities and knowledge is not about where you are. You can learn from anywhere. So you are really not limited because today you can decide that, okay, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. I want to go into business analysis. I want to be a financial advisor. I want to go into compliance. I want to go into HR. So I think like to determine it will be more of the industry you are in, for instance, that will determine whether you are limited or not. And also because you have to personally develop yourself. So you can be somewhere, even if there are a lot of opportunities surrounding you and you're not ready to learn, you won't develop yourself personally. So it has to do with your person. And I believe, again, the industry, like I've said, how you can easily learn and move from one place to another in the bank, for instance.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. So there is a question that's very common. Lola, I think you will take that question first. And then,
Okay.
there's something that they say about moving in-house. There are a lot of examples of people that moved from law firms in-house, but there are not a lot. Are there an equal number of examples? Because somebody was asking how easy it was to move from in-house outside. Is this something you will advise somebody if he has
Honestly,
a firm on one side and a company on one side? Should he go for the firm or the company? And if he goes for the company, is it possible if he does not like it after some time, or if she does not like it, to move out and back into a firm?
basically, so I think like it to depend on the individual. I used to say it, for instance, I tell my friends, I can never go back to a law firm. Never.
Yeah.
As in that door is closed for me. I can never go back to a law firm. If I leave, I will go into financial advisory. So talking about placing law firm and in-house, I mean, in GT, we have like litigation, we have recovery. So you can be doing litigation in the bank and then you decide, okay, I'm tired of doing litigation. I want to go and start. Because basically, we don't go to court here. So we employ solicitors. You can decide that, okay, I want to go now. It's time for me to go and start working with all the experience you've gathered, because I mean, you will go to court and be a witness, you will go through proceedings before solicitors file it. That is enough experience for you to go back if you decide to leave. But I think that addressing the issue of how people hardly ever go from in-house to back to law firm, I think is more of the doors and the things you would have learned and the stress of going back to practice. The way I see it personally, I mean, in my own experience, I don't think I can ever go back to a law firm. I mean, I don't know what the future holds, but the way it is as of today, I don't think I can ever go back to a law firm.
Thank you very much. So, Uncle Sammy, you heard my question, yes?
Yes.
The balance between.
So this is it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So first of all, this is it. Personally, I always give myself 3 years to settle in any company. After the 3 years, I tell myself I have outgrown that organization. I start to work towards my transition.
Okay.
Now, as a lawyer, fundamentally, it is a sin against Lord Denny for you to stop growing. It's fundamentally a sin. You need to continue to grow, and by grow I mean in terms of knowledge. Now your knowledge ought to be vast because you never can tell where the opportunities will come from. Now, as an individual, professional, you must have industries that you have interest in and aspire to work. So, for instance, before I got my current job, while in Port Harcourt, I was already preparing to go in for an MBA because, first of all, I have a business, like a private business. Okay, now I was preparing for an MBA to enable me leave law because law is going to become in a couple of years there will be no jobs for lawyers if we do not do something aggressively about it. That's because if you check the numbers that law school churns out every year, and the numbers universities churn out every year. So everyone needs to start thinking in the alternative. Okay, law, let's say God comes down and says no more law practice. What do I do with myself? So people need to start building alternative careers. Okay, I was already going towards business, which I will go to. Okay, I was going to go abroad for Lagos Business School, just being here, so I can do whatever I want to do. So yeah, you need to keep growing and start thinking of the alternative source of income, because one problem a lot of lawyers have is they don't see law practice as a business.
Okay.
And every business ought to grow to the point of diversification of operations. Okay? So if you don't find yourself growing as a lawyer in terms of building a dual career, it means you're going to be stuck in law. And that's why a lot of lawyers cannot leave Nigeria to Canada now, because getting to Canada, your degree is useless. Your law degree is almost useless. Okay, so the best thing to do now is start building dual career capacity. You never can tell where the job will come from. Now, having a law degree in addition to whatever qualification you have gives you an upper hand. For instance, if they're looking for HR personnel and you are HR, you got a law degree, you have ICSAN, you have all the other qualifications, it gives you an upper hand against someone who has an MSc degree in HR, because you have a law background, you have your HR related courses at hand. You can also perform secretarial duties. Okay, so you should build career. Now, talking about lawyers being stuck in, what's the second question? Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
What's the second question?
My question was about lawyers being either stuck in-house and unable to move out.
Transition. Yeah, so I think I just addressed that.
Probably private practice or a law firm.
Yeah, now, I don't think a lot of lawyers are stuck. A lot of in-house lawyers are stuck in-house.
Okay.
It's the fear of the uncertainties out there. For instance, the moment I hit 50, I am living in-house.
Okay.
I am going back to business and I'm lecturing for the fun of lecturing.
Okay.
I'm also going into consultant. Those are my personal aspirations. So the moment I hit 50, I am retiring actively. Okay. Now, lawyers, so in order not to be stuck, you need to be visionary. You need to have a vision for what you want to do with your life. Like I said earlier, you need to think of an escape route should law stop paying you. Because really, you may have just a degree in aviation law, expertise in aviation law, or in crude oil and in oil and gas. And now everyone is moving from oil and gas to clean energy. Okay.
Yes.
Now, what happens when your oil and gas, LLM oil and gas becomes obsolete?
Okay.
And you become almost unemployable, except you refresh, you brush up yourself. People need to start thinking in that direction. That way, you're able to transition from one industry to another industry.
Okay.
Yeah. And you don't necessarily have to work as a lawyer in those other industries. You can go in as a business development officer, you can go in as admin, you can go in as it depends. I mean, look at Sheung, for instance. Sheung, Oluwaseun Esquire on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah, core lawyer, but who's in finance now, doing core finance work. I know someone who is a lawyer, but went to PT Ivory and is now a mod engineer. Mod engineer is drilling engineering.
Wow.
You can't drill crude oil without a mod engineer. That's what there's a guy and a girl I know. That's what they're doing.
Okay.
So you need to. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. So in rounding up, I think I've taken all the questions in the chat. In rounding up, I think Lola, please, your parting words. Note that this is about honesty, this is about down-to-earth conversations, heart-to-heart conversations. So in rounding up, what do you have to say? Young lawyers, law students, what do we do?
So, if I'm being honest, I just think that you should just do you, whatever you think. If you think practice is for you, then fine. I know fantastic lawyers. Ifemina taught me in law school. Shout out to Ifemina. Then Sammy taught me when I was in uni. Sammy used to tutor me when I was in uni too. So if you think practice is for you, you have fantastic role models already. If you think practice is for in-house is for you, then you should totally try it. I personally like it because I mean it's stressful and there's really no job that is not stressful, if we're being honest. It's stressful and all, but I like it because it has given me opportunity to see things differently. Like you know how you can always explain loan to deposit ratio, CBN policies, your market lending rates, and all of that. So I've been able to learn that. I think like if I was in a law firm, I wouldn't do that, to be honest. So I think you should just do whatever you think is really good for you and just be successful. Thank you very much.
Uncle Sammy, your parting words.
My parting words. It doesn't matter why you studied law.
Yes.
Law is not paying. Leave law alone. Chop law before law chop you. It's true. That's my only advice. If it's not paying, leave it alone. Go for something else.
Okay. It's all right. Thank you very much. We will be waiting for your giveaway. You know, you're the only person in this room that has done oil and gas for as long as you've done it. So I will be waiting for oil money giveaway. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you very much, Lola. Lola is in-house counsel at GTB. And Uncle Sammy has a lot of years of experience in the oil and gas industry. And I'm very glad that he came around to share with us. Thank you very much for coming. So before we go, thank you very much. Okay, so Lola, I think that's it. Yes, so before we go over to the next session, I really appreciated the first session and how honest the conversations were, especially around ethics and everything. Let me tell you something. I have a very small story to tell about my first time bailing somebody from the police station. It was frustrating, but I just came out of law school fresh, full of legal knowledge and bursting with zeal. And I marched to the police station as the law. And I was busting English. And the policemen were just laughing. And they were just laughing. Like the policeman on this side was laughing, the other one was laughing. And he was laughing. They were just laughing at me. And I was working at a litigation firm there. So my seniors used to do this thing where they would say, oh, you're not confrontational. You need to be confrontational. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to do that. I arrived at the police station and after the policemen were just bullying me. It was ugly. Me in my mind, I already thought I knew what was supposed to do. But increasingly these days, I'm beginning to see that a lot of times when you go to the police station, what you're going to do there as the lawyer is, I hope Tobe cannot hear this. Can Tobe not hear this? Tobe na Iguanu. I don't, okay, he's not here, so I can say it. What the lawyer is going to do there most of the time, if you're going to be expedient in releasing your client, what you're going to do there is to negotiate. I don't want to call it a bribe, but it's substantively that. And unfortunately, that's where we are. So yes, before we move on, a lot of the conversations that we've had has covered a lot of things, and it has covered a lot of things, and we're trying to look at moving careers. Uncle Sammy says, if the law is not paying you, you should leave it. So on the great conversation, we're trying to cover things like moving careers, advancing in your present careers. And by moving careers, I mean moving from the law, I mean moving within the law, I mean advancing from where you are at where you are, just making progress otherwise. So even if you want to move abroad, tomorrow we will have a session on immigration for lawyers and how to, a lot of lawyers have successfully moved from law practice in Nigeria to law practice abroad in different capacities. And what are the things that you can do that will help you make that progress? Would you have to do an advanced degree? Would you have to just move and take exams and all of that? Now, if you also want to move in-house, we're going to be talking about how to do that while you're here. I think we'll do that tomorrow. The next session will be starting off very shortly. And as is my tradition, I will ask that you make a tweet of the things that you've learned in the past session. I will give you about 1 minute to do that, and then I will continue. This time, I will not put up my microphone or my camera. I'll just let you do that, and then we'll move on to the next session. The next session is about work-life balance. It seems like a myth in law practice. In fact, I'll tell you something. In my first year of practice, I remember that some of my friends got jobs in very interesting firms. And one of them, I was coming to work someday and I was already at work at 7 a.m. And then she texted me and casually I said, I would rather talk than text. So she says, no, I can't talk. I'm just finishing from work. And that was work the previous day. And I was already at work the next. So I said, okay, you are just finishing from work. When are you supposed to go back to work? She says, oh, I should be back to work by 10. And my God. Anyways, I'm sure that we must have tweeted by now. So I'm going to move to the next session. And my guests for the next session, one is as an associate at Aluko and Oyebode. His name is Chidi Odoemenam. I think he's on. Hello, Chidi, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can hear you. Hi.
Oh, very glad to have you. I am very glad that I have you. So I also have Faith. Oh, Faith, oh God, I terribly murdered this name. And I'm sorry, I will not go further in murdering it. So Faith, please introduce yourself. I'm sorry.
So it's Izomime, E as in E, not E.
Okay, okay, Izonime.
Izomime, yeah.
Izumime.
Okay,
Yes.
Izomime. I'm learning. Thank you very much. I'm properly guided.
Yeah.
So we're talking about work-life balance and whether it's a myth or whether it's actually a reality in law practice, in successful law practice. These two guests are associates at two of the leading law firms in Nigeria. So I'll let them speak in turn, just opening statements, and then we'll go to particular questions. So Faith, you go first, since I just learned it. Izo Mime. So you go first about work-life balance. Opening statements, what do you think? Do you think it's something that's a myth? Let's start from there.
Okay, so I definitely think that it's not a myth, but I also think that there's no one size fits all in terms of work-life balance. So it's really what you make of it, is really what you want for yourself. It's really about what is important to you at every point in time. So my honest opinion is I don't think that there's a work-life balance that applies across board to everybody, but I also think that it's something that people should pay attention to in legal practice.
Okay, so Chidi, do you think it's a myth? Hi. Hello? Is Chidi
Hi,
there?
okay. So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
okay.
I can.
So like Faith said, really, my own view is that it depends on quite a number of factors, right? It depends on, like I was telling Faith, we had a conversation about this just before this started. Depends on the number of factors, the firm you work in, the practice area, your supervisors, the culture of the firm, So it depends on quite a number of things. But I don't think it's a myth. I think that there's a level you get to, and you find that you have more time in your hands. Some people, maybe when you're a couple or in your first or second year, it's tougher. Some people work in smaller shops and they find it more difficult. So like Faith said, it depends on quite a number of factors.
Okay, so first, I don't think we're all working with the same definitions of work-life balance. So I think we should just further back a little. What do you think work-life balance is?
So for me, work-life balance would be you want to feel as if you are working properly, like you're properly engaged. That's work, right? You're doing
Yes.
enough work. If you're a deals lawyer like myself, you want to be doing deals, you want to be busy, and you also want to turn up. You also want to have a life, right?
So that
Everybody has definition of turn up. Some people like going to the club. Some people, just like chilling. You just want to be able to have time to flex, to chill. You also want to. So you want on Monday morning, you are doing the biggest deals in the market. Friday evening, you're in Velvet or you're in W Bar, and you're flexing, and nobody's disturbing you. That's what I think work-life balance is. But not everybody has the luxury of it. Some people, when other people are in the blue bar, they're in the office and they're working. It's so.
That's covered.
So Faith, yes, your definition of work-life balance, please.
I think Judy has given it a very good definition. It's having, good, your career, your work is going on fine, you're involved in a lot of transaction deals, you're a superstar in your law firm, as we say it. And on the other hand, your personal life, your friendships, your relationships are working on just fine. You have enough time to, make them priority as well.
Okay, so Chidi, everybody thinks that you are the turn-up master. The Catholics are very crazy right now. They think you are the king of turn-up. So were you always like this? How was your first year in practice like? Because it seems like the first day that are complaining. Were you always like the king of turn-up, like, or was it something that you developed as you came up?
I'm not the king of turn-up. Now, never been.
Not the king, but you were out there with the echo and stuff.
Okay, I mean, so it's a lot of things, right? And I like to tell the guys that work in my firm, the NYSC associates or the first year associates, right? It was very tough. It was very tough. I remember my first day in the firm, we used to walk, up until 1 a.m. It was so bad that, every weekend, you feel like you wake up on Saturday morning and you want to go to the office because that's like what you're used to. Like on Sunday morning, if you're not in the office, you feel like what's going on, So like that was how bad it was, So, but then again, it gets better. There are a lot of things to factor into. For example, your first year, you probably don't have that much skill, right? So I give a first year in my firm to draft an agreement. It's going to take the person 4 or 5 hours to draft. Person sent it. I look at it. I have comments. We can go through an agreement for 2 days, right? But right now, that's an agreement. I can draft it in 1 hour, right? So, which is really thing to look at. So first year, second year is always very tough. It depends on the practice area you work in, and you can maybe Faith can also chip in here. If you work in a practice area like corporate finance, if you work in banking and finance, and you work with some type of clients, if you work with some type of investment banks, it's tougher. Some people have very tight deadlines, and it affects you, But then again, first year was very bad for me. I always tell people, the people that work in my firm, I always tell the guys I mentor, but it gets better, it gets better in year 3, in year 4. Yeah.
So guys, in case you are in the hellhole of first year, they say it gets better as you get up. So just stick in there. So Faith, I think the next question will be for you. What are the things that you do to help yourself? Like, what are the steps that you take as an individual to aid work-life balance? Because I imagine your practice is also as intense as it appears. So what are the steps that you take to balance yourself out?
Okay, so just I'm sure about talking to young lawyers, so
Yes, we are.
yes, as practical as possible, right?
Yes.
So as you said, the first year, second year of practice is usually tough. You're trying to find your feet, you're trying to learn as much as you can because law school curriculum doesn't really equip you for practice, right? But I would say that as Chidi said, it depends on your practice area and what you're interested in. If you're interested in entertainment law, for example, right, I'm not sure that your deals will be as active or as involving as banking and finance or as capital markets or as private equity, all these other more strenuous practice groups. But in terms of STEP, right, my first year, honestly, I spent it crying. I was always crying because the work was just a lot. And that is me speaking honestly. But I would say that you have to sacrifice something. If you really want to, keep a certain level of work-life balance, quality of personal life going, you would have to sacrifice something. And it could be something like your sleep, right? So there are times where I would have an engagement, maybe a friend is doing something or, there's a birthday party going on. You drop your laptop in the office, leave it open. You go for the engagement, come back and continue working. Because you need to get that groundwork going. When you get to your third year, your fourth year, at that point, you are doing things in a lot shorter time. You can tell your partners that, oh, you want to do this, and they let you go because they understand that you get the work done before the deadline. But when you are just starting out, people they don't have that much trust in your work yet, and you still need to spend a lot more time to put out good quality work. I would say practical steps, if it's important to you, make out time for it. You might have to sacrifice your sleep. You might have to cut down on, you can't be present at everybody's thing. You left uni, you had 100 friends. It doesn't work. If you really want to make it in legal practice, if you really want to shine in your law firm, if you really want to learn as much as you can't have 100 friends. You cut it down to the number that you think, okay, these ones are important to me. Focus on that number. Make sure that, even if you have to work through the night to get it done, you are not, you're delivering on the work front, but you're also there for your friends and your family. It's not an excuse because even if you make all the money, even if you are a superstar in your office, when you come back home, you want to feel like you have people that are behind you. You have people that want to talk to you, people that care about you.
Okay, so how did this affect your relationships? Did you lose friends? Have you been in a serious would you have been able to manage a serious relationship in your first year?
Okay, this just got personal. Okay,
We're being honest.
No, I mean, I said I was going to be as honest as possible. So, there are lots of things to consider, right? And I say this because if you happen to be dating a lawyer, if I was dating Chidi, for example, there's no issue because he would understand that, he went through the first year and the second year. At that point, he knows what it is. So he's more understanding. But I would say to you that if you are dating someone that is not in legal practice and is not maybe in the most strenuous part of legal practice, tier 1 law firms or in a very active practice group, right? I would say you should expect some strain on your relationship. You weathering the storm depends on how you're able to balance out work and what you're willing to give up for the relationship to work. But I would say expect some strain. I know that I was in a relationship where it was basically me choosing between my work and the person, right? Again, it depends on what stage of, if you're dating somebody for a lot of years, it might not matter. You just started dating someone, it might be more difficult to balance, but people don't understand that this is the price you have to pay in your first and second year of practice, right? So I would say there will be strain. That's the honest truth. Me speaking to you honestly, there will be strain. Whether or not that strain affects the relationship to the point where you cannot continue is totally up to you. But again, at some point during my, first and second year, I was blessed with someone who really understood, like, no matter what it was, he understood exactly what I was going through. He understood I had to be in the office. There are nights when you stay working till the next morning, you go home, change, and come back to the office and keep on working. So, when you're doing something like that, the person has to really understand that you're just trying to, you're trying to learn, you're trying to acquire knowledge. So there'll be strain, but it's not impossible to keep your relationship going in your first and second year, even though you're trying to, progress in your career.
Okay, so I think Chidi has the next question. Sorry. Chidi, would you advise someone in the first or second year of practice would you advise you're speaking for the men now? Would you advise them to say hello? Would you advise them to get into a relationship in the first and second year?
Honestly,
Interesting. I think it depends on quite a number of things. It depends on the type of person you want to date, right?
Okay.
And it also depends on how far you want to go.
How far?
Do you want to be a superstar, or do you just want to be, a very good lawyer in the firm? And it depends on the firm you work in, right? If you work in A&O and you work in banking and finance, and in your first year, I would say don't think about a relationship for now. In your first year or your second year, I would say no, leave it for now, right? Because you need all the time. You probably need all the time. Because the job will take a lot of your time, and I think that for relationships also take time, and you also need to give attention to your partner, and that attention is what I cannot guarantee that you can give to another person, unless you're dating someone that also does a similar job, or someone that understands what it takes. So if you work in a very, very busy firm, in a very busy practice, first year, second year, how are you going to do your night FaceTime calls? How are you going to call the person? When are you going to hang out with the person? It's going to be difficult now. Is it when you are trying to send out your FA by 12 midnight that you're going to be calling the person? Saturday afternoon, you're probably still in the office trying to work. Sunday, you're just trying to sleep. The person is going to suffer. The relationship is going to suffer, right? And you're not going to say, oh, the reason why I did not send in the work is because I went on a date. You're not a superstar. They don't take you serious. Nobody's going to take you serious, right? So a lot of things, right? So I don't think it's not exactly priority then, but then again, I like to emphasize that it depends on the firm, and I'm not trying to disparage people that work in IP or people that work in other type of practices, but I know how busy some practices are. I know how busy someone that works in entertainment law is compared to someone that does capital markets in 2020, right? So it depends on a lot of things. So if you work in a very busy practice with very demanding bosses, and your first year or second year, most of the time they may not exactly respect your time, the way you would want. People may be sending you work when you want to go out with your babe. And what are you going to say? They're going to do the work now. So yeah. But then again, if you find love, go for love. And maybe you can wait till maybe second year, third year before you think about a relationship.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So I think I'll come back to this relationship part because everybody seems to be agog about it. So, but that moves to the next part of this question. Did you think that working from home helped your work-life balance, or did it make it worse from personal experience?
Interesting. It didn't really help the work-life balance. And I think that the problem with working from home is that there's an availability, right? People assume that you're always going to be available, and before you find, like, the issue with which I personally found, and I think most people that probably work in my firm, you will see, is that you find yourself always working.
Yes.
Right. And you personally may even be the cause of the problem. You may adjust your timetable in such a way that you are working every time, right? You can sneak in. I sneak in, maybe I probably try and sleep in the afternoon a bit, but most of the time at night, early in the morning, you're working. And I think that would affect your work-life balance. If I was going to the office, for example, I can say, okay, I leave my laptop in the office by Friday night, 7 p.m., 8 p.m., I'm out, right? But if I'm working from home, 8 p.m. Friday night or 7 p.m. Friday night, I can see my laptop, I can just take it and start working, right? So I think that I would prefer to go to the office work in the office. When I'm done, weekend, Friday nights, I go out. There's work, then there's, after work. So that's the way I prefer it. And I think that working from home has sort of, created that environment where you're always working, and it sort of affects work-life balance as well.
Okay, so I think the next question is for Faith. Are there things that you did to help your work-life balance during the lockdown with working from home and stuff? Are there things that you did to help yourself balance a little better?
Okay, so I mean, like Chidi said, it's the working from home made everything more difficult because you are always available. So people don't respect that you've gone home the way you would typically say, oh, I'm going home, I've left the office, I'm not working tomorrow. Now they just expect that you're always available. So it got more difficult, but I would say this, for me personally, right, being there for friends and family is something that is very important to me. I would like to, one day look and say, okay, I have friends, I have family that I have been there for, that can be there for me. So steps I took during the lockdown was, whether or not I have to carry my laptop to that event, I'm gonna be there with the laptop. And I think people are fine with that now. They know that, oh, I go everywhere with my laptop because I don't want to be caught and start panicking. So I just pack my laptop when I'm going out. When I'm going to the restaurants, I'm going to a wedding, I carry my laptop. And that is because work is important for me, but also my relationship with people is also important for me. So I carry my laptop, I explain to them, see, I have an urgent deliverable, I'm sorry, I would have to press my laptop. 30 minutes, 1 hour, I close it, I dance, I turn up, I come back, I continue working. So I feel like you have to just, know why you're doing what you're doing, right? So if you don't really care for the law, trying to balance your work and your life no matter to you because you know that you're just there for a short while and you're going to go off into something else. But if it's important for you to put out good work, it's important for you to be recognized that, oh yes, you are knowledgeable in this practice area. You are becoming recognized in finance or in capital markets or any of these other practice areas. It will be important for you to still maintain a very, very excellent work product. But at the same time, you still need to try and be there for your friends, go for events, whether or not you're working on your phone, replying emails, using your word, making phone calls, making sure that people are doing stuff for you. But I would say steps I took is just carrying my laptop everywhere. Honestly, that's what I've done this whole lockdown. So I carry my laptop everywhere. I'm always available because that's just the kind of person I am. And I would say that that's what I would, if you really want to keep both sides going, just be available so that nothing is passing you by. But at the same time, I would not say you should now stay at home and be waiting by the laptop for the work to come or working 24 hours in a day. No, go out, visit people, have fun, watch a movie, like Chidi, go to Velvet or Quillox, do what you can. Do what you can.
So thank you very much. So Chidi, they say I should ask you the difference between Velvet and Quillox, which is better. That's what they said.
I don't know. I don't know any of these places. I don't.
Oh, you have no idea what.
I don't know what these places are.
Okay, are you speaking from the bar right now?
Don't mind me. For this is FMN asking, right? I imagine this is FMN.
Plenty people are asking, not just you.
There are many places to go to. I mean, really, you find that if you go to Vegas, you find like-minded people. You find people that earn legit money, people that do corporate work as well. So it's easier. You fit it better. If you go to Quillox, you're more likely to see fraudsters that will oppress you. People that will be tearing. Like I was telling someone that I went to Quillox, so I went to Cubana, and I saw people tearing dollars in front of me. So yeah, I prefer to go to places where I meet, like-minded people that do the similar work. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So I think I will do this with some form of there's a number of statistics I was reading. I don't think I remember them specifically, but I'm going to run it over you, and then I'm going to ask my question at the end. And one of the statistics basically is that 51% of divorces, like 51% of lawyers divorce within their first 3 years of marriage, especially if those lawyers are in transactions. That's one. Number two, 40% of professional, I think it's professionals that commit suicide are lawyers, 40%. I don't think these statistics apply to Nigeria. Yes. And then 70% of lawyers have been burned out sometime or have been burned out before. So have you ever experienced burnout before? That's my question. Have you personally ever experienced burnout before? And what are the things that led you there? And what are the things that led you out? If you have experienced burnout.
Okay, yeah. So I have actually experienced burnout, I think I probably experienced burnout like maybe once every year, something. But then again, I always like to say that it depends. So my practice area has a season, right? You have a period of the year where companies always want to raise money, or a period of the year where companies always want to close deals, right? Now, other things also affect it. There's a period of the year where people resign from law firms, people go to school, right? And law firms may find it hard to recruit. So I'm in a position whereby my process becomes very busy, and then people are resigning and they're not hiring other people to replace them, right? So now you're very busy, you're extremely busy, you're doing so many things. There was a time I was confusing deals in my head. I remember going for team meetings, and I used to, if you ask me for one name of transaction, I would mention another client. I was just mixing things up. It just gets to the point where where you are just so busy, you're always working, and the stress just catches up with you. And there was also another period that I remember very well. I think that was maybe 2017 when I was doing my NYSC. When I was reporting to just too many people, that was also a problem. I also like to point out one of the key reasons where people complain about work-life balance is where you report to too many people. Your work gets reviewed by an associate, assigned to another associate, and that associate. So you're waiting for a review from 5 people or 4 people, and 12 midnight, you're getting comments and stuff. So yeah, that contributes to the burnout aspect of it, right? So how do you get out of the burnout? I think that for corporates, most of the time is market driven. There's a period of the year where deals are slow. It's also moved by economic factors, right? So those period of the year, things are slightly quiet. You're not going to burn out. You're not going to be too busy, right? But sometimes some practice areas are always very busy. And in A&O, for example, banking and finance, we have 4 partners that are always looking for work. So you're always going to be very busy. So what do you do in those instances? You talk to your supervisor. So I've had instances where I sat down with people that supervised me and I said, guys, I find myself always working for many people. Sometimes the issue is someone calls you and says, oh, are you busy? You are busy, but you want to be a superstar. So you say no. You collect the work. Another person calls you, you collect the work. Before you know it, you are struggling so many things at the same time. And that also contributes to the burnout. So most of the time, you also have to speak out and say, please, this is what I'm doing for this person, right? Do you want to give me some time to finish it so I can do this one for you? It gives you a bit of a breathing space, So I think part of the main ways you can, make sure that you don't burn out is by communicating with the people that supervise you, by talking to them, by speaking out, and speaking out in such a way that they don't see you as a lazy person. There's a stigma attached to, when people say, I'm overworked, or I don't want to do this. People in big law firms, in corporate law firms, they say, oh, you're busy. Sorry, you're lazy. This person doesn't want to work. So people, I've seen it happen, somebody that wants to go home by 7 p.m., someone that wants to go home by 6 p.m., they stop giving the person work because, oh, this person is not reliable. So I think speaking out, having conversations with the people that supervise you and, trying to lay it out, it's not as if I'm lazy, but, is there a way we can work around in such a way that I get to do my work and I also get to rest? Yeah.
Okay, that works. Thank you very much. So, Faith, the same question to you as well. Have you ever been burned out? What did you do to come out of there?
Okay. Definitely. I mean, I don't know that you'll be practicing in a tier one law firm, in a very, active practice area, and you will not get burned out at some point. You need to check that you are getting enough work. But yes, I've been burned out even as recently as towards the end of last year. Because of the lockdown, because of the amount of work, I wasn't able to go on leave for the whole year. So at some point towards October, November, I was tired. Like, you'll be slower. You are not processing things fast enough. You are not at your best. You're not giving out, optimal work. So it's inevitable, right? It's inevitable. But at the same time, like Chidi said, if you have, I have a very good, awesome partner. So if you have a very good supervisor, you can go and talk to the person and say, you know what, even if it's 3 days, I cannot keep working like this because I'm not giving you my best. So because your track record shows that you are a high performer, or you are someone that doesn't shy away from work, I feel like your supervisor or your partner will be willing to give you that time to say, okay, I understand it happened, you've not had any rest, take some time off and do what you have to do, right? But if in a situation where you don't have a partner or a supervisor that you can talk to, my advice would be, create time for yourself, right? There are always seasons. There are seasons where there's plenty work, and there are seasons where it's not so bad. So make sure that you are creating time for yourself, even if it means shutting down your laptop at a particular time and saying, from today at 6 to tomorrow at 12, I am not opening my laptop. I'm not doing anything that's not extremely urgent. Those types of steps are things that you can take to help yourself. But getting burned out is inevitable. But you will get through it. Like, there's always, better periods. There's always better times ahead.
Okay, so you don't club, yeah? You don't go to Velvet, you don't go to Cubana, you don't go to. Okay, it's not your thing. How do you relax?
Relax, so no.
You had
How
a
do I
very.
active life in my past life? So not anymore.
Oh, okay. They say you go to Ilashe.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Okay, no problem. So, what exactly? How do you relax exactly?
Okay, so for me, right, I like eating. So I'm
You like
always
eating?
eating. Yeah, I like food. I like trying out new food, new experiences. So I probably always need new restaurants. I like watching movies as well. Movies with cinema. I like spending time with friends and family. So I'm always, maybe visiting, or I'm doing everything together. Cinema with friends and family, eating. But those are things I like to do to relax. I like watching movies, so I am able to multitask. So I can watch a movie on one laptop and be working on the other laptop, and it makes me feel better. I don't finish the work feeling as stressed as I would if I was just doing the work, because I'm watching maybe something funny on Netflix and I'm trying to do something. That's when you're not doing work that is like technical. Maybe you're doing something more administrative or procedural. So you're able to do that, right? So I feel like for me, movies, food, hanging out with people, friends, that's what I'm not like Chidi that likes to go to the club. But I find my own ways to relax.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, Chidi, I think the next question will be for you, and it will be a rounding up question. So you can also add your closing comments. The question is about it's not okay, it's actually is a question to be open about. How does one say I'm in 300 level and I want to move from where I am to where you are right now? What are the things that the person will do? So you're looking at two things. You're answering the question as you would from your experience, and you're also trying to correct some of the things that you did not do correctly that wouldn't have landed you, almost made you lose where you are right now. But we're going to chart the path from 300 level law to where you are right now. So let's do that. Hi, Chidi, can you hear?
Chidi, if you're speaking.
Is him
Sorry,
muted?
I was on mute. Yeah, okay. So I would say 300 level, I would first thing I would do is I would try and do an internship in my 400 level and in my 500 level. But then again, the issue is that, and this is what I tell everyone that comes to me, for advice, especially students, is that it's become very competitive. It was competitive when I did my internships in 2014 and 2015, because then not a lot of people knew about the big firms and the internships, and what internships will do for you. It's become very competitive. Everybody knows about A&O and Olalinwa Ajayi, and I speak to my HR guys sometimes, and they tell me the amount of applications they receive for internship. So it's very competitive. But I'll say again, try your best, apply, and get into these firms and do an internship. There's also LinkedIn. I used to do a lot of LinkedIn when I was, about finishing school. And I think what LinkedIn does for you, LinkedIn helps you network. So most of the time, if you apply to a firm for an internship, and you most likely need someone in there to push it for you, or someone to at least have a conversation with, and the people in there. So that is another thing I would advise. Use LinkedIn. Social media is very important. Try and build your network. Talk to senior lawyers. Talk to the lawyers in the firm you want to work in, and that would help you get an internship. And now, when you get to the firm you want to do the internship, if you get the internship, and you should also try as much as possible to do actual work in the firms. I think the one thing that worked for me is that when I interned in A&O, for example, I remember a gentleman called Chukwudi. I think he works at Detail now. He was supervising me when I was doing my internship. So he actually, give me proper work to do. I met him and asked him for work. I said I wanted to do deals. I wanted to learn what you guys do. So it's very important that you don't just sit in the library and people come and do internships. They just sit in the library and take pictures and go and put it on their LinkedIn and tag everybody they've done internships. It's also very important that you do actual work, because what that does for you is that it gives you a lot of context. So when I was interviewing at A&O, to get into the firm as an associate, I had a lot of context that a lot of people did not have. So people were coming from law school and they knew all the curriculum from law school, but they didn't understand what due diligence was. They didn't know what project financing was. But because I'd interned in firms and I did actual work, I could put things into context. I understood what they were doing. I knew what to look out for if I was doing DD for a finance deal, for a project finance deal. I knew what an investor would look out for if they were doing a DD for an M&A deal, for example. So again, it's not just enough that you do an internship and post on your CV. It's also very important that you also, try and do actual work and understand what they do there. And going back to the internships, it's very important that you try and do an internship in a firm that's not a law firm. So you try and mix it up a bit. So if you do an A&O, a BNI, and ACAS, you should try as much as possible to do a big four. Law firms respect big four so much. There's a magic that having a KPMG does on your CV. And I know it's difficult to get into big four firms for internships because you're competing with people from other disciplines as well. But try as much as possible to mix in an investment bank or a bank or a big four firm into the mix. It helps your CV a lot. So now that is the point where you package your CV. Then try and get a 2-1 from university at least. This is not to say that people that get 2-2s or third class will not get in, but as much as possible, it's become very competitive these days. It's very competitive to get into a big firm. So when the HR people, when the recruiters look at the CV, most of the time they will start cutting off from 2-1. So try and get a 2-1 in law school and a 2-1 in uni. And most of the time they may waive a 2-1 for law school, but more often than not, they would ask that the candidates that come in for the entry level positions have a 2-1. So now you have a good CV with a mixture of the big firms and probably a big four, a bank, and you have a 2-1, you have good grades, then I would say people always ask me, how do I get into corporate finance, which is what I do. And I think corporate finance, it also depends on a lot of things as well. So it depends on, so if you want to do capital markets, for example, you have to work in a firm that does capital markets. It's as simple as that. And when you go to the firm, you have to convince them to put you into capital markets. Some firms will put their best brains in some practice areas. So if an oil and gas firm like ACAS will most likely put the best people that the best people from their recruitment exercise into oil and gas. So that's the way it works in some firms. So that is my advice. And also the interview process, I don't know how it works with a lot of firms now, but I know that one thing that the interviewers look at is they want to see someone that understands the way law business works, someone that understands the way law practice works. They are used to seeing people that are smart, people that understand law, but they are always very impressed when someone comes and the person, sort of already has a head start in the process. So as soon as possible, try and get that head start. There's a gentleman that works in my firm. His name is Sean. I think they call him Sage. That's when I spoke to him when he was doing his internship, I was very sure that he was going to get into the big firms because, even before he went to law school, Sage understood the work that we did in the firm. He understood what corporate lawyers do. So that would also, distinguish you from the rest, having that additional context about what lawyers do. If you sit down and you can speak about M&A or capital markets or project finance, even if it's a bit, like they don't expect you to, to go on and on about it, but at least to have that additional context about it. So I think that is going to be my advice for people in law school, people in university that are trying to get into the big firms.
Oh, thank you very much. So Faith, the same question, your parting words, one, and then number two, for someone in 300 level that wants to become the next Faith, what does the person have to do? And of course, in answering this question, probably put in context for female lawyers that are taking that same journey. So it's you now, Faith.
Okay. So I think for me, you're in 300 level to end up. I do banking and finance. Chidi and I do almost the same thing. We are usually on opposite sides. And I think I would say during your university days, right, find mentors, right? And I say this because you want to know what you're getting yourself into. So reach out to people that are doing what you think you want to do. It doesn't matter that you might not end up doing, you might think you want to do corporate finance and you might end up doing energy or oil and gas, but you need to have people that you're looking up to, right? People that you like the way they are, you like the way they are doing law practice, and you think that this is how you want to end up, so that they can tell you the truth, they can tell you what steps to take. They can maybe connect you with people in law firms, with partners that they know. So you need to get people that will serve as mentors to you. There's so many, from a female perspective, there's so many great female lawyers that I know. Just in my firm, there are 6 female partners, and they're all amazing people. So I would say reach out. These people are don't be afraid, because they are more willing than you think to mentor people, to just help people avoid the mistakes that they made, right? So Shei Bella, Ayotunde Wigwe, Aziza, these are women that are doing fantastic in their careers that you can reach out to. Even if you don't want to go all the way to partner level, their associates, their senior associates that can help you, because they've been through what you're going through and they've passed it. So they can help you out in navigating the very competitive waters of getting a job and getting into tier 1 firms, legal practice. I would also say this: while you're in university, I'm trying not to repeat what Chidi has said. So I know that he has made some very excellent points. But in addition, It's something that people don't pay attention to, and then you realize that you need it when you get into the law firm. If you think that you are going to do a master's in law and you're in your university, you're in 300 level, you have 2 more years to go. I know how tempting it might be to just read your book, pass, and go. But you also need to find academic referees and recommend people that will recommend you for masters. Most times you find master's program, law master's program, LLMs, telling you, oh, provide 3 academic referees. So if you don't have lecturers that you were close to, maybe you are working in Lagos, you didn't school in Lagos, so you don't even have time to go back to university to meet people. You want to already have people that can stand in for you, people that can recommend you and say, yes, I know this student, I taught her commercial law, contracts, commercial transactions. I taught her all these things, and I feel like she'll be a good candidate for an LLM in your school. So use your remaining 2 years, if you already haven't started building those relationships, to find academic referees that would help you when you're applying for your master's eventually. It's something that I did not do, and it's something that I've had to navigate in a whole different way. So I would just say, piece of advice: make sure that you start early, you build this relationship so that when you call them, they are able to give you the recommendation as soon as you need it, right? If you're a female, please, maybe you want to speak towards female lecturers, just so that you don't have any issue with male lecturers trying to be funny. So, I mean, I'm sure that there are female lecturers that you can, build a relationship with, and that would help you in recommending you for master's program or whatever. Also, I would say be as flexible as you can in uni. You might think you know what you want to do. You might think you want to be an entertainment lawyer, and then you might find out that there are other areas that you could have done and you could have done very well in. So it's time to test everything you can. If there are societies, if there are clubs, if you think you might like something, uni is the time to try it out. As long as it's not affecting your grades and you're still trying to finish with a 2-1 or a first class, as Chidi has said, I think that you should try it out. In my school, we had tax club, oil and gas, chambers, moot, anything you think you might be good at. Like, it doesn't, at the point when you leave uni and get into legal practice, very few of them or the mistakes you made will matter. But you want to be sure that you have no regrets. There are things I wish I had tried out in uni that I think I would have been great at, but for some reason I was focused on school. So try it out, do as many extracurricular as you can. They come into play when you're applying for opportunities, when you're applying for masters, when you're applying for jobs as well, because they want to see students that, okay, yes, you did this, but you find out that your CV lands with a partner that was in the Moods Club, and they see that you were the president of the Moods Club in your school. They already feel like they have you are a very confident person. They already have a perception of you just from seeing how your CV is, right? So those extracurriculars that you are shying away from might be the thing that distinguishes you from, someone else that is applying for a job. At the same time, I think when it comes to your personal life, I would say build a very good support system while you still have a lot of time in your hands, right? Uni is not as demanding as your law practice, your first, second year of law practice would be. So build a very good support system. The friends I have today are 90% the friends I made in university, because there was a lot of time to make friends and to connect with people. So make sure that you have people that understand where you are going, understand why you are doing what you want to do. So when you say, oh, I'm working at the office, I can't come for this particular event, they understand that, okay, yes, you've been my friend for 7 years. One day it's not going to change anything. Like, you missing something is not going to change anything. So you need that support system, because they're the people that when you're frustrated, you call, that can make you laugh, that can cheer you up, that can encourage you to try harder, do better. That support system is very much needed if you're going into active legal practice. Find things that make you happy. Discover yourself. Movies, club like Chidi, restaurants. Just make sure that you are doing what you can. You're enjoying your uni days. Adulthood does not end. It doesn't stop. It doesn't slow down. In fact, it gets worse. So as much as you can, explore, enjoy your university. As strategic as you are thinking towards your future, still take time to relax and flex and turn up. Because when you start, there's no going back. It's superstar. The reward for good work is more work and more work. So once you get into that, tier one law firm, you're going to be working till whenever you decide to, take a break or decide to go on leave. So just enjoy yourself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself in terms of getting everything right. Just take risks, explore, discover, and I think that you'll be fine.
Thank you very much for giving us some of your time. I understand that you're very busy, but thank you very much for giving us some of your time. And thank you, Chidi, for coming on. We really appreciate the insights that you've gotten. Unfortunately, I think this is the much that we can take on this session. Well, I'm going to ask you, we're going to send you a message with a link for you to probably review your experience with us and everything. We're trying to make this conversation a running conversation, and we're trying to improve the experience for future speakers and probably for future students as well, as much as possible. So thank you very much. And thank you, Chidi. At least we learned the difference between the clubs. Thank you very much for that insight. It's very important. So please, if you'd make a tweet about your experience on the event, like about your experience here, and use the hashtag and maybe tag us or follow us, something like that. Thank you very much. So we'll see you later.
Thank
you very, very much. So I don't want to, let's not forget the sessions tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about masters, how to make a choice for your masters, whether you should do an LLM or not. And we're having Harvard master's degrees, people with Harvard master's degrees, Berkeley, all those big places, Oxford, all those big places. It's going to be a very deep conversation. And we're also going to be talking about immigration for lawyers. In a previous session, somebody talked about how difficult it was for lawyers to move in practice from Nigeria and move abroad. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Then somebody talked about starting your law firm in the first year of graduation. Well, tomorrow we're going to talk about private practice as well, and I hope everybody can come on tomorrow. Thank you very much to all the panelists from today and the moderators as well. Thank you to Toby Adebuwale, chairman of the MBA Young Lawyers Forum. Thank you to Chidi Oduemenam, his associate at Alukwane Ibode, and of course, he's our resident advisor on clubs and stuff like that. Thank you to Faith Izominmi. Yes, I got it right. Thank you very much for sharing your experience with us. Thank you to Tobena Igweonu. Thank you to Efemina Iluezi Obaldo. Thank you to Georgette Monu. Thank you to Sami Tena. Thank you to Lola Salami. Thank you to all our participants today. And I don't know if Bolaji is on the call. Please, can we unmute him for some time for him to say hello? Bolaji has been very helpful in planning this event, and thank you very much, all of you, for coming around. Bolaji, hello. Bolaji, can you hear me? Oh God, it looks like he's gone here. Oh, he can hear me. So Bolaji, please say a few words and let us we want to hear from you for a bit.
Yes. So hi everyone. I'm really grateful for the session today. I want to thank the panelists, as Sika said, and everyone that participated. Hopefully tomorrow will be bigger and better, and we'll have more interesting insights. And I'm really grateful for everyone that spoke. I'm really grateful for the diverse insight that was shared today. So thank you everyone, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Bolaji. In case all of you do not know, a lot of this event is because Bolaji did some of the work that he did. Oh my God, he's been a total rock star. He's been a total rock star throughout this period. And I really appreciate him for the work that he's doing. I also want to appreciate Vincent Okonkwo. Vincent Okonkwo has been a writer. He has been on LinkedIn doing the thing, and we really want to appreciate him for all that he has done. I want to also appreciate our technical manager, Ewoma Uyibota. She has been in charge of our Zoom, muting and unmuting everybody. I want to thank Shore Fumi. I think that's about it. Thank you very much, guys, for coming around. I really appreciate you. I recognize Possible Ubedengbe, superstar like that. I recognize Daniel Aluaye. So we're going to do this same time on Zoom tomorrow at 3 p.m. and I hope that we will all be there. Thank you very much for this time. Tomorrow I may not be around, but whoever is around, of course, is going to be an exciting time tomorrow as well. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask everybody on the group to please make a tweet of the event. Please use the hashtag #TheGreatDiscourse so that the conversation continues on Twitter. And you can also follow us if you've not followed us. That is at The Great Discourse on Twitter, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. So thank you guys and see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. Oh, okay.